In 1 year, we've taken a dead and crippled country. I hate to say that, but we were a dead and crippled country after the last administration and made it the hottest country anywhere in the world by far with no inflation.
Ça parle trop. Et ça va trop dans tous les sens. Voilà. Et donc, je pense que le monde a besoin de stabilité. Je pense qu'on a tous besoin de stabilité, de calme, de retour à la paix.
The same week that Trump claimed the U.S. is the hottest country in the world, the leaders of France and Japan tell us how they really feel.
I've met and talked with Mr. Trump about 3 times myself. If you tell him what you're saying is wrong, he gets angry. He gets angry. If you say what you're saying is wrong, let me explain it to you, he immediately loses his temper. Maybe I shouldn't say things like that. So instead, I just say, yes, you're absolutely right. I flatter him, but then I interpret what he's saying in my own way and say, so what you mean is this, right? Making sure to save face for Mr. Trump. In any case, I make sure to let him save face. And as for him, he's the kind of person who judges everything based on whether it's a loss or a gain. So if you don't steer the conversation toward this way is more advantageous for you, sir, he'll lose his temper. That's right. If he loses his temper, it's a big problem.
The former Prime Minister of Japan just said in an interview the truth about Trump. He said that he met him 3 times and that if you tell him he is wrong, he gets angry right away. You cannot say that. You have to say, you are absolutely right, and flatter him to his face. That guy judges everything by loss or gain. Well, the rest of us, unfortunately, have seen it. I mean, we see why people in his cabinet, when they go around that table, all they do is flatter him and credit him for the most insane things in order to try to keep their job. But here is a world leader saying that. How unusual it is. Even if a world leader didn't like what a US president had to say or do, they usually kept quiet because of our alliances, because of the importance of trade deals, etc. But the fact is, Trump has basically destroyed all of our alliances. He's tried to bully countries into making deals with his tariff war. He has gone on stage and said how we don't need anybody, and on the other hand, telling them they have to do certain things. I mean, he was so incredibly rude to Japan, talking about Pearl Harbor right in front of them.
Why didn't you tell US allies in Europe and Asia, like Japan, about the war before attacking Iran? So we are very confused about we Japanese citizens.
Well, one thing, you don't want to signal too much. You know, when we go in, we went in very hard, and we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay? Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay? Right? You know, he's asking me, no, you believe in surprise, I think, much more.
In that Oval Office meeting, I mean, he is an embarrassment. And he doesn't even ever make sense when he talks. I mean, the fact that you have coming out of Iran statements from their leadership that whether or not they're real or propaganda sound a whole heck of a lot sane than the statements coming from our president, and that statement to the nation that he did during prime time in order to tell us something. In fact, he told us nothing, but he rambled, incoherent. He's even talked recently about how he likes to surround himself with losers because it makes him look good, and that he will like somebody as long as they like him, even if they're not a good person. These are kind of the things that normally we did know about him, but he wouldn't admit. It was like he has lost no filter. And so this is allowing people on the world stage to really call him out for who he is.
Then I call up France, Macron, whose wife treats him extremely badly. And still recovering from the right to the jaw. And I say, Emmanuel, we'd love to have some help in the Gulf, even though we're setting records and knocking out bad people and knocking out ballistic missiles. Would love to have some help. If you could you please send ships immediately? No. We cannot do that, no.
Il est même pris à vous directement avec des allusions privées sur votre couple. Qu'est-ce que vous lui répondez? Est-ce que c'est une attaque que vous considérez comme contre la France, qu'il a dit?
Écoutez, je ne vais pas rentrer. On parle de choses trop graves. On parle de guerre. On parle aujourd'hui de femmes et d'hommes qui sont au combat, de femmes et d'hommes et de civils qui sont tués, de la guerre qui sévit dans cette région. On parle aussi des conséquences de cette guerre sur nos économies. Je pense à nos compatriotes, les Américains vivent la même chose, les prix de l'essence, du gaz qui montent, et donc les propos que j'ai pu entendre, auxquels vous faites référence, ne sont ni élégants ni à la hauteur. Voilà. Donc je ne vais pas y répondre, ça ne mérite pas de réponse. Ce qu'il faut faire, c'est agir pour la désescalade, pour un cessez-le-feu, pour la reprise de négociations qui seules peuvent régler en profondeur ce qui se joue dans la région et qui est important pour la stabilité de tous nos partenaires et de nous tous, et pour la reprise aussi d'une libre circulation et la reprise des échanges économiques dont nous avons besoin, parce qu'aujourd'hui, ce sont nos compatriotes, c'est nous tous qui sommes les victimes des conséquences de cette guerre.
French leader Macron shot back after Trump tried to reference an incident between him and his wife when he was trying to force NATO to get involved. In fact, the opposite is happening. France said that we couldn't use their airspace. Our military couldn't use their airspace. They don't want to get dragged into this war that Trump is doing in a very chaotic and dangerous way. So Macron said, that the words that he was able to hear were neither elegant nor of a high standard. That's it. So I'm not going to answer it. It doesn't deserve an answer. This is what he's saying to the president of the United States. Wants this great relationship. But leaders know that this is how they can refer to Trump, because he has dragged down our standing himself and the office with it. A Canadian Prime Minister came out and said that the Israeli military invasion of southern Lebanon was an illegal invasion. Of course, we're hearing nothing from Trump and Hegseth and Rubio about this, despite 1 million civilians being displaced, 1,200 civilians killed, despite the fact that we arm Israel. No, instead, Trump goes in his national address and talks about bombing Iran back to the Stone Ages. This very proud country with heritage. The fact is that he's not only just rude and ignorant, he doesn't even know what he's doing. And that's really dangerous.
What is missing in leadership?
Well, it's winning. You got to win. I've watched a lot of people, leaders, great leaders. And, the one thing about sports is you break it down into, a 2-hour period, something nice. You don't have to wait a lifetime to find out is somebody a winner or a loser. You got a lot of losers, mostly losers, fortunately. It's a good thing to have a lot of losers. I always like to hang around with losers, actually, because it makes me feel better. I hate guys that are very, very successful and you have to listen to their success stories. I like people that like to listen to my success.
The president's right when it comes to military targets. However, the president is on the clock with the American people. New Fox News polling shows the president's approval rating taking a hit as gas prices rise from a month ago. 64% of registered voters disapprove of the president's performance on Iran. 71% of people disapprove of the handling of inflation. 66% disapprove of the performance on the economy. Now, all these are connected by oil, which can put pressure on increased prices. And that's why there's so much attention on the Strait of Hormuz.
The reason why Trump is trying to project strength is because he is having devastating poll numbers at home. This Iranian war is splintering his MAGA podcast sphere that is going to eventually trickle into the MAGA voters, even if they're polling supposedly still behind the war. The fact is, his numbers are so low. And he just gave the Democrats a gift by saying out loud that the country could not fund such basic needs such as healthcare and childcare because we need the money to go to war, despite the fact that this war is extremely unpopular. And he ran on ending endless wars because he knew how unpopular it was, not because he actually cared one way or another, but he knew that statement was going to help him win. So he realizes that the poll numbers are so low. He is trying to somehow act like this is a victory and project strength, but instead, everyone else is calling him out for his weakness.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.